Hello, and thank you for joining us on a quick demo on uploading assisted living data in LTC Trend Tracker. I'm going to go through some slides to walk through the measures, some tips and some FAQs, and then we will jump into LTC Trend Tracker and show you how to actually upload the file, where to get the file that you need to upload, and all of that good stuff. So first and foremost, really important, I do want to point out that you have to have permission to upload assisted living data. And that permission is given to you by your LTC Trend Tracker administrator. That is not one of us here at AHCA NCAL. That is someone in your organization that has been assigned in your organization to be the administrator. There can be more than one that gives access and sets up user profiles. So what needs to happen is that you need to have, as we've circled down here, that you can upload AL quality measures data. That is not a decision we can make. That is up to you, to your company and your LTC Trend Tracker account administrator. If you are not sure who your LTC Trend Tracker account administrator is, you can email our help desk at help@ltctrendtracker.com and we can let you know. Overall, to upload data, you first have to download a template that I'm going to show you. It's Excel. You enter your community information. You can have more than one community in there. They just need to be separated by lines. I'll walk through that. And you can have more than one date. You then will upload the file into LTC Trend Tracker. That file is then checked by LTC Trend Tracker, and if you have errors, it will tell you what column and row your errors are in, and you'll need to fix those, save it, and upload again before it accepts that. Something very important is to make sure you click the Submit button, which will become available if there are no errors in the uploaded file. If you do not hit Submit, your data was not accepted. Data is ready to view immediately in those reports. I'm going to walk through a couple calculations. Hospital admissions for assisted living. So our numerator, the top number, is the number of residents who spent the night in the hospital, and our denominator is the number of residents in the assisted living on the last day of the month. We have a little note in the slide, just so you can follow along in the spreadsheet if you're looking at that too, what columns these are and correspond to. I do want to point out something very important that we will also point out in readmissions. This includes both observation and admissions days, but excludes ER visits. For hospital readmissions, the numerator is the number of residents sent back to the hospital within 30 days of being admitted to an assisted living directly from the hospital. And the denominator is the number of residents admitted directly from the hospital to AL. So the numerator is a portion or is a subgroup from the denominator, really important. So anyone not included in that denominator is not going to be included in the numerator. Something else I want to point out is really important. Observation and admissions days are included. Excluded are planned admissions or ER-only visits. Now, this can be a complicated one, so we are going to walk through an example that I hope makes this easier to understand. I also want to point out these are any residents. So these could be new residents that maybe they weren't in your assisted living prior to going to the hospital, but came to your assisted living. They could be returning residents, so a resident that went to the hospital and then came back to your assisted living. But most importantly with readmissions is they come directly from the hospital to your assisted living, meaning they do not go to skilled nursing. They do not go to a relative's home. Their home before assisted living was their home. They don't go anywhere else. They directly come to your assisted living. So I'm going to use an example using January. It's a complicated month and trips a lot of people up because February is a short month. So I'm very aware that assisted living does not have the volume that skilled nursing does with people coming directly from the hospital. So you may be wondering why we use 10 residents. It is just easy to do the math, and so that is why. You may have 1 or 2 residents, which also means that your data is going to look really high if you have a readmission. So it's really important that you understand your numerator, your denominator, how many people are in those, and really are able to talk about that. So if you're talking to a provider, it doesn't seem really high that you maybe have a 50% readmission rate. Maybe you just had 2 residents and 1 did go back to the hospital. So in this example, we have 10 residents. In the second column, we have the transfer date from the hospital directly to the assisted living. Third column is the hospital readmission date for those residents that went back to the hospital, which is 4. For resident 3, they returned on January 31st, which was within their 30 days. Resident 6 returned in February 5th, which was definitely within their 30 days. Resident 9 came back January 31st, so their clock started ticking then. And March 1st is within their 30 days. It seems kind of crazy because it's 2 months later, but really it's within 30 days. So those 3 individuals are included, and we're going to show you an example. So for your January readmissions, 10 would be your denominator and 3 would be your numerator. So it would be 30%. You don't have to calculate that. LTC Trend Tracker will. I do want to point out here we have resident 10 went back March 15th, which was out of their 30 days. So they are not counted in this measure. So if we were putting this in our spreadsheet, as you can see, I have my NCAL ID, which you can get off ltctrendtracker.com. Your community name, I have the year. Again, I'm going to walk through this with the real sheet so you can see me make selections. The month, January, the number of residents in the community, and the number of residents admitted to AL directly from the hospital is 10. The number of residents sent back to the hospital is 3. So frequently asked questions. Do I count ED visits? No, only observation and admissions count. Can the numerator be bigger than the denominator? No. And LTC Trend Tracker will catch that if that is the case when you upload. They will let you know you can't do that and there is an error. Another hospital admissions example I want to give is I got this from a member and I thought it was a great example. And so I wanted to utilize it because I know they weren't the only ones having this. So if I have 3 residents, let's call them Sue, Mary, and Dave. They went to the hospital in October and were in the AL on October 31st. October hospital admissions numerator would be Sue, Mary, Dave, which is 3, divided by the denominator, which is Sue, Mary, Dave, plus all the rest of your residents in your assisted living on 10/31. I have 100 total residents on 10/31, which includes Sue, Mary, and Dave. So I would put 100 residents in on the last day of the month for my October and 3 for the hospital admissions in my upload sheet. The residents in your numerator, those are who sent to the hospital for admission or observation, have to also be in your denominator, those residents in your AL on the last day of the month. And the other way too, anyone in your denominator, you can't have someone in your numerator that wasn't in your denominator. Another readmissions example is if Sue, Mary, and Dave all came back on 10/30, they would be at risk for the hospital readmission for 30 days out, or 11/30, November 30th. To count for the October hospital readmission measure, if all 3 went back before their 30 days, they would be counted in the October hospital readmission measure, not the November hospital readmission measure. Even though they went back in November, it was within their 30 days. So your October hospital readmission measure, your numerator is Sue, Mary, and Dave, 3, went back within 30 days divided by your denominator, Sue, Mary, and Dave, which would be 100%. Again, you want to make sure you know your numerators and denominators so you can talk about your data and really tell your data's story, not just the outcome, especially if you're in assisted living and you may have very few admissions from the hospital. So having 1 or 2 readmissions could really spike that hospital readmission rate. Assisted living off-label use of antipsychotics. I want to let you know on our resource center, we have a great little chart that shows you the appropriate uses or the FDA-approved diagnoses for antipsychotics. If for some reason you look at that and you see one that's not included, just contact us at help@ltctrendtracker.com and we'll get that updated. We don't expect you or any of your staff to know what is an off-label use, so please utilize that. For the numerator, we have the number of residents prescribed an off-label antipsychotic. The denominator is the number of residents in the AL on the last day of the month. And again, we walk you through this example on the upload sheet just below that. Frequently asked questions we get around off-label use of antipsychotics. What does off-label use mean? This means that the antipsychotic is prescribed for a diagnosis not approved by the FDA. An example would be dementia. How do I know what antipsychotics are off-label? There's a chart, as I mentioned before, in our resource center and our AL quality measures upload help guide. I want to go through a quick list, a checklist for submitting data. You want to download your data entry sheet, which we're going to walk through. It has been updated for 2018. Enter data, make sure to save it somewhere you remember, upload it, and make sure you receive the message it was uploaded successfully. Go to the report, run it, and make sure to customize it at the bottom, which I'm going to walk through in another demo you can see on running reports for assisted living. You will then see your current month data. If you don't see it, your upload was not successful. And that means you need to double check your upload sheet and make sure you have the correct month or year. You may be laughing, but these really come from issues we've had and help tickets that we put together and work on our FAQs and include them. Make sure you are using the upload Excel file and not the download file. There is a download file where you can download historical data. That won't work to upload. Try to upload again and check your data once more. If it is still not there, please don't scratch your head and become frustrated. Please do reach out to us at help@ltctrendtracker.com explaining the errors you may be receiving and attach your upload sheet. One of our team members will look into this and get back to you and help you solve your problem and be able to upload your data. Again, if you have any questions, you'll want to either visit ltctrendtracker.com or email our help team at help@ltctrendtracker.com. We're now going to switch over to the Trend Tracker website and demonstrate how to upload data. Now we are in ltctrendtracker.com, which you can access very easily at ltctrendtracker.com. As I mentioned before, you have to have permissions. I am in a demo site, which means there's dummy data. It's older data, so please don't be frantic and think we only have data from 2017. But I also have permissions as an account administrator, a lot of permissions, so you may see things that you may not have. As I pointed out, you need to have access to the NCAL measures here on the left-hand side. I'm going to click that. You'll first and foremost want to download your data, or download your template. So go ahead and download that. I am going to quickly switch over and walk through my spreadsheet, and then we'll talk about uploading it. Now, as you can see, I have my upload spreadsheet. Make sure you download one if you downloaded this a while ago, because we have updated for 2018, so it goes all the way to 2020. It also goes all the way back to 2015. So if you have historical data and can fill this out, you are more than welcome to fill this out, and we encourage you to, so you can have historical data. You'll need your NCAL ID, which you can find at ltctrendtracker.com. That is how we link your data together, because assisted livings do not have an SPN like skilled nursing. You'll need your community name. You'll put in the year. Please don't type it in. Whenever you see an arrow, please use that arrow like you do here for month and year. You'll want to type the number of residents you have in the community on the last day of the month. If you are uploading this and you get an error that your bed count does not match your number of residents, you will need to email us at help@ltctrendtracker.com, and we can update that in historical data for you. You'll then put in your hospital admissions data. You will, if we were going to do the one we just did, where we had 3 people go in, I'll just type that in. The example, and as I mentioned the example before, this may look familiar, where we had 3 people go in out of 10 for hospital readmissions. Make sure you save this somewhere you remember. Now, we're going to hop back over to Trend Tracker. and finish this upload. So we're back here in LTC Trend Tracker, and you'll want to go ahead and hit your Browse button. You will see, remember where your upload is, hit Upload. As long as I have no errors, and oh my goodness, there are no errors. So this is what it looks like when you have errors. And you may be thinking, oh my goodness, there are all these errors. Don't let that stop you. You go through, look at what you do, look at what it says where your error is, and fix it and then save it again. So we're going to go ahead and do that and try to upload again. Now, as I mentioned before, you will receive, when you get this right and you have no errors, the file, whatever your file name is valid and ready to be submitted. Click Submit. Do not go away from this page until you see Submit as Final. I'm going to submit it as final. You can run a report and you will see file was submitted successfully. Really important to make sure you do that step. And that is how you upload data. You can double check, you can run a report, which is in another one of our quick webinars on how to do that, or you can go see our dashboard, again, in another one, to check and see if your data is there. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.